everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you are returning, if it is your first time here, then I welcome you with open arms. I hope you enjoy this video and I hope you decide to stick around and subscribe because that would be awesome. No pressure though. This week, I didn't really know what to talk about. I guess I should make some kind of running list of YouTube topics that I want to discuss in the future, so I just have like stuff to pick from, because I have been racking my brain all day about what I wanted to talk about, and my brain is not working, I guess. I couldn't think of anything. But then I saw that story that just came out a couple of days ago. I was on TikTok, of course. I'm on TikTok like all day, every day. So somebody that I follow on there had posted a video that was about that 6-year-old boy in North Carolina that picked a flower at a bus stop and got f***ing arrested for it. So I thought I'd come on here and talk about my experience with police indoctrination. If you guys have followed my TikTok for any length of time, then you know that I used to date a cop, because I talk about it frequently. And I am a firm ACAB person. I think that the institution itself is messed up and it churns out problematic officers that then go out into our streets and make life and death decisions every day. And this is why we get all the unarmed shootings that we do, and why we get 9-year-old girls pepper sprayed and handcuffed in the back of police cars, and 6-year-old boys being arrested for picking a goddamn flower. It's not because they're bad people. It's because the profession trains it into them to profile in a certain way and make bad decisions. So, thought I'd come on here and talk about it a little bit and let you know just what my experience with all of that has kind of been like. So this guy that I was dating, we didn't date for very long, but we knew each other for several years. And he was a very artistic, we were very similar in a lot of ways. We both enjoyed nerd culture. We were both actors. We were both very creative people who liked different art mediums and stuff. We liked to watch cartoons together, and we bonded over Harry Potter. So this is the kind of person that he was. He came out to LA to pursue acting. And then we all thought that he maybe didn't like the non-structure nature of acting. Like, there's no direct path to take. There's no one telling you what to do. You just kind of wing it and throw spaghetti at the wall and hope that something sticks until it does. So he wanted a more stable career. At first, he wanted to go into forestry, the National Forest Rangers Service, or whatever you call it, the forest ranger. He wanted to be a forest ranger. So he went through that training and almost made it to the end, but then got cut right before they would have hired him as a forest ranger or something. So was very discouraged about that. And his dad had been a police officer his whole life, so he decided to go into policing for some reason. And it came as a huge surprise to everyone who knew him. Everyone was just kind of like, huh? You want to do what? Because it's just not in his personality. There's a reason why we stereotype cops in a certain way, and he did not fit that at all. So we started dating pretty much halfway through his time in academy, or right when he started, right after I don't remember. He hadn't been in academy for very long when we got together. And I knew him for the person that he was, and I was just gonna support him and respect him in whatever choice he decided to make. Nobody thought that he would make it to the end and become a full-fledged officer. I don't think he even thought that he would. I think he thought he would get cut just like he did from the Rangers. So I don't think he ever expected to go through it and then have to be a cop. Although he did kind of hang his whole self-worth on making it through. It was weird. He put all this pressure on himself to get through it and to become a full-fledged officer. But I don't think he ever really wanted to be, and I don't think he ever really expected to be. But he hung his success or failure in life on becoming that. I don't know. It was weird. He had a lot of stuff going on about that. But anyway, so we started dating, and Noisy fridge. Shut up. So anyway, apparently when you go into academy, so if you didn't know this, a lot of departments have IQ caps. They won't let you in to the academy to even train to become an officer if your IQ is above a certain level, or if you have above a certain level of education. Like, they literally want stupid people. They want people who are not going to question and who are just dumb enough to just blindly follow orders, which should tell you a little something right there about the things that are expected of cops. His department didn't do that though. The hiring officer or HR or whatever it was person told him, you probably won't like this. Like, you're very smart, you're educated, you have a degree, you're way overqualified. You probably won't enjoy this life. Just so you know. So you should maybe think about this and see if there's anything else. And he ultimately decided that that didn't matter, so he just went for it. And they really beat you down. They wear you down emotionally, mentally, physically. It's like a military training program, which I have thoughts about. For one thing, they train them like they're going into battle, and they use that kind of terminology all the time, like battle and the enemy, and I don't even know. It's very militaristic in even the language that they use, which when you think about it is really messed up, because it's not like they're going into a war zone. They're going out onto our streets. So who is the enemy? Who are they battling? Us? Yeah, the answer is yes, us. Anyway, so you could see it in him as the academy program progressed. And for one thing, it's definitely not long enough. I think he was in there for like 4 months. I mean, any other profession is going to take more than 4 months of training. Come on, let's just be real. But apparently they tell you in the program that you should warn your loved ones, your significant others and your friends and family, that you're gonna change as a person. You're not gonna come out the same person that you went in as. Which, when he told me that, I thought that was kind of weird, because like, they're training you to do a job. Why would that fundamentally change your personality? But it's kind of true. So I think, I don't know, it was a very strange experience, because on the one hand, he really wanted to make it and be a cop and, do the job. And on the other hand, he really didn't. So he was constantly fighting with that in himself. And what made it even harder is the culture inside the academy, let alone the police force itself, is just the prime example of boys club toxic masculinity. Like, it's like the quintessential locker room BS. It's just really gross. Like, he would tell me sometimes about what they would talk about in the locker room and who they would pick on and why, and it was just very toxic and very like hyper masculine. So that's kind of the type of people who are going through the program and who are coming out of it and ending up as law enforcement on our streets, interacting with the public on a daily basis. I think he let the culture change him, because he felt like in order to fit in with those guys, he had to act a specific way, and it was just tearing him up. I watched it every day get worse and worse. And then when he finally made it all the way through and he became an officer, it only gets worse. Like, if you think the hazing and what they do to them in the academy is bad, there are unspoken rules that you have to follow as a rookie officer to show deference and respect to the senior officers, that if you don't do these things, you could be fired for essentially no reason. Or at least severely ostracized within the culture, and then that leads to not getting good assignments, and just they systematically other you, One of these rules, which I thought was really stupid, was if you're a rookie, you can't wear short sleeves in the summer. Okay. Ugh, just weird. And it's like, I feel like these little rules are set up just as further steps to break you down as a person and make you more compliant to what police culture is, which is a bunch of bullies. They train them to look at every encounter. This is why, like, those of us who say ACAB think that the police should not be responding to every single situation, because For one thing, there's no need for it always to be police. Like when somebody's having a mental health crisis, like for example, wellness checks. Wellness checks do not need to be run by police. So many wellness checks in the US end in violence because police are not trained to respond to things in like a social service type of way. They're trained to respond to every single situation as a combat situation. So that's why we have things like police officers going to somebody's house to do a wellness check and then end up shooting the person. Because every little thing that happens in a police officer's mind is potentially a criminal act or an act of defiance or something that warrants a violent response, which, first of all, I don't think every even criminal act warrants a violent response, but that's how they train them. So they train them to look at everyone as a possible threat. Everyone, but especially certain profiles. So they don't outright say that Black people are more likely to be hostile, but it's definitely implied in the way that they train them. For example, when they give examples in the textbook about like what criminal behavior is, what criminals look like, it might not outright say in there Black skin, but it definitely paints a picture, if you get my drift. So there's that. So then they're trained to look at everyone as a potential threat, especially certain people. And then if people respond in kind of a human way, like when you think about it, if I'm like an older person passed out on my couch or something, and then somebody comes to serve a wellness check and is knocking on my door at like 3 o'clock in the morning, what is that person going to think? Like the first thought that pops in your head is not going to be, oh, that must be a police officer. I should go answer the door and let them know I'm okay. No, you're going to think that that's like somebody coming to, I don't know, do something crazy. So people get defensive. I mean, and we saw this in the Breonna Taylor case, right? Her partner that she was living with thought that the police coming to the door in the middle of the night was an intruder or like multiple intruders. So he started firing because that's what we do, right? We're gun culture, America. Like you're supposed to have a gun for protection, and when somebody comes into your house to steal your stuff or something, you have a gun so that you can protect yourself and your family. But if it's the cops, you're just out of luck. Shouldn't have had that gun, I guess, even though we're told that we should for it's all counterintuitive. Yeah, so they train them to respond to every situation, even wellness checks, as a potential combat situation. Because if that person is not responding, that you had to call a wellness check on them, it could be because they're strung out on drugs and they're going to assault the officer who comes to respond. That's literally the kind of thing that they would expect. So the longer we were together, the longer he was going through academy and close to finishing. We actually were still together when he did finish and became a full-time officer, but we broke up shortly after that. But as that process went on, I noticed more and more him adopting those kinds of profiling mentalities and viewing everyone as a criminal, which I guess we all have the potential for criminality, but that doesn't make us like, I guess what I'm trying to say is just because somebody has the potential to be a criminal or commit a criminal act doesn't mean that we prejudge them, that we should prejudge them and make criminals out of them when they haven't done anything. I don't know, I'm tired. For one example, the way he talked about the formerly incarcerated, like former felons or felons, was like they are subhuman. They don't deserve our respect or anything. They don't deserve to even be walking amongst us civilized folk. They are basically animals. And I was like, you know, anyone could become a felon at almost any time. And that's not even to mention the people who get disproportionately charged with this. So this is my cat. This is Norma. Say hi, baby. She pops up in my lives all the time, but she usually stays away from me when I'm talking to the camera. So say hi. No, she doesn't want to talk. It is so noisy in my apartment today. Hell. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so he talked about felons like they were subhuman, which if you already have that kind of judgment in your head before you're even interacting with people, and police interact with a lot of people who have previously been convicted of a crime. The recidivism rate in the US is astounding, because we don't actually work on rehabilitating people. We just cycle them in and out of the system constantly. But it's like, no, these are people who made mistakes. And especially if they've been locked up and released, then they've paid their debt to society. Like, there's no reason to treat them like they are going to, like they're not human or something. It's just, so I just noticed more and more of this attitude popping up in him of like, oh, criminals are a subspecies of human being. And it was really, really disconcerting to me. But the worst part, okay, here's the worst part of this whole sad, long saga. So they have this marching chant that they sing, like when you're in boot camp, right? So when they're doing their morning drills, they're like, and it's like call and repeat, right? Like you see in the war movies. And apparently each class comes up with their own chant. And I don't remember how the whole thing went, but his class was forced to change the last line of theirs because it was inappropriate. And yeah. The last line of it was, and we'll shoot them down the line. And people wonder why we have so many police shootings. Yeah, so I can see why their superiors wanted them to change that. It's just little things like that seep into your psyche, into your consciousness as a police officer, that you're forced to conform to a certain way of thinking and treating people and prejudging them before you even have an interaction with them, that leads to the kind of police discrimination and brutality that we see on a regular basis. And this whole experience really convinced me of ACAB, because my ex went in to the force to try and change it from the inside. Like, this is how he talked about it before he entered Academy, was that he was gonna go in and make a difference and be a really good example of how policing should be done, and interacting with the public in a way that changed people's attitudes, because he was aware going in that people don't have a lot of trust in cops anymore. So he was gonna go in and change that. I bet you can guess what happened. That attitude disappeared, and he conformed to the whole policing structure and the kind of like groupthink that they engage in. So seeing that story about a young Black boy being arrested for picking a flower. Ugh. And now he has a criminal record, and now he's going to be treated like a criminal for the rest of his goddamn life. It's like, we can't, if you're a minority in this country, you can't do anything right. Nothing. And we see that time and time again with people doing everything that they're supposed to, complying, listening to orders, doing all the right things, and still getting shot and still getting killed. I'm a firm believer that the entire policing structure needs to change. Defund the police and put that funding more into social programs that are designed to actually help people, and where the people responding to certain types of incidents aren't going to resort to violence as their first option, because they'll have better training on how to interact with unstable people. Like cops are so afraid of everyone because they're trained to think of everything as a combat situation, right? So they go in already scared. It's drilled into them from day one. You could die. You're probably gonna die if you don't, respond quickly. You're gonna die. So it's just, the fear is ingrained, and so they go in expecting violence and death, and so they act on that preemptively because they don't want it coming at them, because they're scared. But I've heard the analogy made where like teachers get spit on and kicked and punched and disrespected and threatened with weapons and stuff all the time. And they manage to not kill their students. Nurses, same thing. They get spit on, they get kicked and punched and like just like crazy outrageous stuff, the way that nurses sometimes have to deal with unruly patients. They manage not to kill anyone. What's the problem here? But yeah, I just didn't know what else to talk about tonight, so I wanted to share with you guys my experience because I had seen that post about that kid and it made me mad, and yeah, so that's what we ended up talking about. Anyway, let me know what you guys think. I respond to all the comments on my videos, so if you guys have anything to add to the conversation or in response to what I've said, then please comment below and let's talk about it. If you have had any experiences with the police in the past, let me know. I would love to hear them. And yeah, I hope you guys have a fabulous rest of your week and a wonderful weekend. And please don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video. It really helps me out a lot and I really appreciate it. If you are a subscriber, I love you. All right, guys, I'll be back next Wednesday with a brand new video. I'll see you then. Have a great one.